So when we are in these relationships where we're being gaslit and there's emotional manipulation, there's negative impacts on us. Our mental health begins to erode. And you can imagine just over time with each of these conversations and confrontations and each of these situations where you come out questioning yourself, you walk away from it feeling bad about yourself, feeling like I'm not sure what just happened. I'm not sure if my memory's really very good, or I must not be a good person or a good partner because they're always upset with me. This is eroding your mental health. Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're talking about gaslighting and really 7 signs that let you know that you are being emotionally manipulated. Now this is a really popular topic because it's so disturbing and it can be really devastating when we have a relationship in our life where we're being emotionally manipulated, we're being gaslit, and or dealing with someone who has narcissistic or toxic behavior traits. It can be really dysregulating for us to have to deal with somebody on a regular, ongoing basis when we're being treated this way. And so it's kind of a popular term, this gaslighting. And so what is gaslighting, right? It's a term we throw around. Sometimes we use it correctly, sometimes we don't. So gaslighting is to manipulate someone using psychological methods into questioning their own sanity or power of reasoning. So essentially, when you're gaslighting someone, you're trying to make them feel like they're crazy. So you're trying to get them to really question their own reality and just feel overwhelmed and actually like they're crazy. So if somebody in your life is kind of intentionally distorting reality in order to get you to question yourself and to question your reality, like your version of reality, this is how I remember it, but they're telling me that it happened this way. And so now you have this internal struggle between what you remember, what your experience is, and then what this person is telling you happened. And so these are in conflict. And so ultimately, it's like, do I believe myself and my experience, my memory, or do I just go along with this strong personality who's being very intent on wanting me to believe their version, right? And then finding that this kind of situation happens over and over and over with this person. This person tries to make you feel unstable, irrational, not credible, and essentially crazy. So somebody who's gaslighting you is really going to be telling you hey, you're unreasonable, you're irrational, you're not thinking clearly, really trying to get you to question your own grasp on reality. And so the term gaslighting actually came from a movie that was based on a play. So in the film, there's a husband who's trying to get his wife to really question what she's experiencing. So one of the things is the house was lit with these gas lights, and he would dim them and make them turn on and off and flicker, but tell her that nothing was happening. And so she essentially believed she was going insane because it's like, wait, the lights were flickering. And he's like, no, they weren't. And so it's this process of getting her to just doubt her own reality, doubt her own eyes, take on this idea that, okay, I'm crazy, you must be right. And then everything, then just the gaslighter is basically in charge of everything because they can rewrite history, they can get you to question yourself. And so now they have this ultimate power. So it's a really, really abusive situation when someone is gaslighting you and really chipping away at your self-esteem and at your grasp on reality, right? It's a very detrimental place to be, which is why we talk about it and why we want to really make sure that we can be evaluating our relationships, that we can be in relationships that are healthy and where, we're showing up as our genuine selves there for a give and take in a relationship in a healthy way, and that we're choosing to have people in our life who are also able to show up as their genuine selves and to participate in a give and take and in a supportive relationship, right? That is the goal. That is what we all deserve. And especially for someone like yourself who is working on yourself and you're concerned with your self-development and you want to learn how to become healthier and more present and fulfilled in your life, we really need to be careful of the people we let into our life, because having, someone who gaslights, having someone with toxic behaviors, having narcissistic people in our lives can drain so much out of us, like our life force, our energy, our ability to stay on this path to discovering our higher selves, to regulating our nervous system, to doing fulfilling work. There's so much that we have that gets taken from us when we get caught up with people who don't have our best interests at heart, right? They're there to take, they're there to use. And so how do we know if we're dealing with somebody who's utilizing this gaslighting, right? Well, let's look at our relationships and let's question. So the first thing is, if there's someone in your life who often questions you and corrects you, right? It's like the most basic part of gaslighting is being told, no, that didn't happen. No, you're not remembering that correctly, right? And so if there's somebody in your life who really questions what you say or what you remember or your experience and also has a habit of just correcting you when you don't feel like there was anything there to be corrected, right? Like, hey, I was just saying how I remember it. This person is correcting you and questioning you. That's the first sign that you're being gaslit. Second sign is that this person creates feelings of confusion and powerlessness in you. So when you deal with them and you're having a conversation, you come away from it feeling confused, because oftentimes, the heart of gaslighting is that what they say isn't true. They're trying to pass off a version of reality that never happened. So you're confused. So you're like, hey, this doesn't add up to what happened for me. Confusion, and then feeling powerless, because someone who's gaslighting you they're doing it from a position of posing as more powerful than you, right? They're there to tell you that your experience wasn't correct. You didn't remember that right? So you're in this position of being diminished, being corrected, and ultimately it's very confusing and you feel small. You feel powerless. So that's the second sign. The third sign that you're dealing with emotional manipulation, gaslighting, is that you're being trivialized. So this person really doesn't take your feelings, your experience, anything you share, they're going to trivialize it. They're going to minimize it. They're going to essentially say, it doesn't matter. It's not true. You didn't experience that, right? And so you're not going to be acknowledged. You're not going to be respected by this person. And so that's a huge sign. You're like, man, just anytime I say anything about my experience or how I feel, this person just makes it seem like it's not true. I don't even understand myself, or it just doesn't matter. That's a really big sign. Okay, the fourth thing is that someone who's gaslighting you is going to refuse to listen to or discuss your concerns, right? And this is a big red flag that we talk about when it comes to fake friends, narcissistic personality disorder, toxic behavior. Somebody is in it for themselves and they're not showing up as a genuine person. They're not going to sit down and listen to your concerns. They're not going to really give you the time of day when it comes to sharing your experience, right? That would require that they show up for you. They're not going to show up for you, right? This is all about them and what they can take from you. Okay, so the fifth sign is that they label you as emotional, or they tell you that you're overreacting, or even that you're crazy. So as you're just doing your mental scan and thinking of this person that might be gaslighting you, have they called you overly emotional? Have they told you you're overreacting, right? Again, they're minimizing your experience. You're overreacting, basically knock it off. Or have they told you that you're crazy? You're crazy, you can't remember what's happening, right? Huge red flag. All right, the sixth sign that you are being gaslit is when the person shifts the blame onto you. So if you confront the person about something, or really just want to list some concerns or talk to them about something, and you end up being the bad guy, right? We call it crazy making. This is actually crazy making. When you have legitimate concerns and, you've legitimately been mistreated and you want to talk about it, and somehow you bringing it up becomes you doing something wrong. And so whether this be, they're going to emotionally break down and be upset, and now, you need to console them, or probably more likely, they become angry and they become upset in that way, and you have to back down, right? And so if you really find that they're not able to take any responsibility when you bring up genuine concerns, and they continuously shift blame onto you. So when you just think about that relationship, you always feel like you're the bad guy, or you're the one that's lacking. You're the one that's a problem, right? Like they've diminished you as a person. And that's the balance of the relationship. Okay. The seventh sign that you're dealing with some emotional manipulation and someone who's gaslighting you is that they create isolation and separation from your healthy network of friends and family. So essentially, they want you all to themselves. They don't want you to have a strong, support network of friends, or a great relationship with your family, so you can have this support and this, voices of reason in your life. Because outside eyes can really notice things that we sometimes miss, right? When we're in it with somebody on the outside who really has your best interest in mind, who knows you, who cares about you, they can point out, wow, that's messed up behavior. I think they're gaslighting you, right? And so the gaslighter intentionally tries to keep you away from these other healthy, loving, concerned people. So if you find that your network of people who love you and support you is getting smaller, and you're getting more isolated, more cut off from these other relationships, and this relationship with the emotional manipulator, the gaslighter, is becoming more and more of your world. Like, this is it. Like, this relationship is where you have to put all your focus and all your concern on, trying to keep them happy. That is a huge red flag that this is an unhealthy relationship, that there's emotional manipulation, there's gaslighting happening, and it's really not ultimately a healthy relationship for you to stay in. So when we are in these relationships where we're being gaslit and there's emotional manipulation, there's negative impacts on us, right? And so the first thing to go is our mental health begins to erode. And you can imagine just over time, with each of these conversations and confrontations and each of these situations where you come out questioning yourself, you walk away from it feeling bad about yourself, feeling like, I'm not sure what just happened. I'm not sure if my memory's really very good, or I must not be a good person or a good partner because they're always upset with me. This is eroding your mental health. If you begin to question yourself, now your confidence becomes eroded. Over time, if you have a relationship where somebody is really constantly questioning you and kind of positioning themselves as higher than you and smarter than you, and, they can rewrite history and all of these things to keep this position of power, your confidence goes. And maybe in the beginning, you just kind of question yourself when you're with them. But then as time goes on, you'll find you start to question yourself all the time. And so when you're having a conversation with another just random person you have no history with, you find yourself starting to question yourself. And there's this just feeling of instability and insecurity in your own grasp on reality. And so this is a detrimental effect of staying in a relationship long term where there's this emotional manipulation and gaslighting. So another, just big global thing that's happening to your system, to your body, is this ongoing stress and this ongoing dysregulation of your nervous system, right? Because our body and our nervous system is very well aware of the contradiction between what the gaslighter is saying, right? This version of reality that they're selling to you, that they're forcing you to go along with. Your body, your nervous system knows that it's not true. We can really start to question ourselves and our thoughts and get low self-esteem, low confidence, but our body still knows. And that results in this really dysregulated system. We can be stuck in fight or flight. We can have these physical symptoms of anxiety and stress in our body. And so long term, that's detrimental to our actual physical health. And then that bleeds up into our mental, emotional health. So it's really not a safe situation for our whole system to be in when we're essentially being lied to and being told that, that our version of reality is not true. So it's really a serious situation. Okay, so what do we do when we really determined that this person, they're gaslighting you, their tactic is emotional manipulation, you're really coming to terms with it, you understand how detrimental it is to your mental, emotional, physical health long term, and so you're ready to do something. So what do we do? The first thing, really, if you're still questioning, is to focus on actions rather than their words. Because someone who is utilizing gaslighting, they're very good with their words, right? They use their words to invent a whole new reality. And then they use their words to convince you to go along with it. But pay attention to their actions, right? And this, again, is where your system, your body's aware of everything. Even if you can kind of convince yourself in your thoughts to go along with them, your whole system knows that things are off. So really focus on their actions, way less on their words. Another real tip to use with someone who's an expert gaslighter is just to not argue with them, because it's never going to change the script. If you're dealing with somebody who utilizes gaslighting, they're persuasive, they come across as being powerful, it's never going to work to argue with them. But that doesn't mean that you have to go along with their version of reality. And so nobody can get in here, right? No one can get into your thoughts. Nobody can get inside of your head and change what you think. And so just knowing, you can notice, hey, what they're saying is different than what I experienced, and hold fast to your experience, right? But not wasting your emotional energy on trying to argue with them. A big, big part of really extracting yourself from a gaslighting relationship and, getting back to a place where you can take care of yourself and be healthy is finding support. And so this is one of the things that a gaslighter will try to take away from you, is that really healthy, loving support from your friends and family. And so plugging yourself back into your healthy network of friends and family, finding that healthy support is going to be really vital in giving yourself the strength that you need to fully pull yourself out of this unhealthy relationship. So ultimately, the goal is to really remove yourself from this relationship or extremely edit down the relationship to where maybe there's someone you occasionally interact with, but you know full well what you're going to deal with, but not making it your whole world. Because that's when things get really, really tricky and really detrimental to us, when a gaslighter becomes our whole world and we start to just erode and erode and erode our mental, emotional, physical health in service to this person that really doesn't have your best interest in mind. And so really give yourself the gift of goodbye. And if, editing the relationship can be tricky and doesn't always work, very often, if someone is very stuck in their ways of this emotional manipulation, giving yourself the gift of goodbye is the healthiest thing that you can do to really protect your system and to allow your life to be filled with people who genuinely care for you, who want to support you, and who are able to show you healthy love. So I hope this has been helpful. And for those of you who really are struggling with a relationship like this, it's a very serious issue. And I really would recommend going and speaking with a therapist or finding somebody who you can really get some one-on-one support from, because it can be very difficult as you start to pull yourself out of the relationship to put yourself in a healthier place. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Please like, subscribe, and tune back in next week for another message. Take care.